of Silver Flames.
This is the
end.
I want to do a dance party. 20 episodes of this. Oh my lord.
But this is one whole season. We may or may not have one more episode coming as our finale for this season. Mm-hmm. But we are finished with the ACOSF series that is currently completed by Sarah J. Maas.
Thank the motherfucking cauldron.
Gods.
Cauldron bless.
God damn, that was long. Holy shit. I felt like I was fighting the blood right.
Tooth and nail.
Tooth and nail. Sorry.
All right, so welcome back to another episode of Me, Myself, and I, an official confession stand podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Hannah/Spuds.
I'm Sam Swags.
Sam Swags.
And I am Sarah Carbs. You're welcome.
That'll never get old.
Not for you. I can stop at any time.
Sarah's ready for a new catchphrase.
No, season 2 maybe we'll come up with a new one.
So what we're just saying is the catchphrase for Sarah J. Maas.
Accidentally intentional.
Accidentally convenient.
That's not
ACOSF. Accidentally convenient.
Especially these last couple chapters that we're covering.
Very accidentally convenient. It's almost like it's planned out somehow.
No way.
Oh my gosh. So Sam, what are we reading, or what are we talking about, what we read?
We are, as we said, it's the last episode, the last section of A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. And that is going to cover chapters 64 through 80.
The end.
Mm-hmm, the beefiest. Well, not the beefiest, but...
I mean, there's some beefy stuff happening.
There's some beefy shit happening, yeah.
And beefy Cassian.
Ooh. We did find out that he's 6'5".
There's a lot of... Actually, there's a lot of beef in this episode. Jeez, there's a whole...
Oh, and there's also fighting, which is also beef.
Yeah, there's beefs. There's beefy beefs.
Beefing beefs.
There's beefing beefs, beefing beef.
I love how she corrects herself up.
It's reminding me of Ted Lasso, the boot in the boot. The boots in the boot.
All right, Sam, can you give us a little recap of what we talked about in the last episode? I wasn't here, so I want to know all about it.
Well, the main thing that you need to know, Hannah, is Cassian confirms what we know, and that is...
That's
their mates.
Oh my gosh, we would have never guessed.
I may not or may have been wrong about my assumptions.
Oh my gosh, she was so mad about that. She's like, they're not gonna be together. Remember that whole, in what episode was that?
I
18 or 19?
I don't remember, because I don't remember
18.
saying it at all, now that I think about it. I don't know, maybe I was possessed by the crown or something. Were my eyes glassy? Did you notice? No one ever took note of that. I'm just saying, it could happen.
You just don't like to admit you're wrong, and it's fine.
Well, because
She's a Taurus.
I am, but...
okay, recap.
Yeah, recap. Thank you.
Well, surprise, surprise, Nesta does not take it well.
This was so annoying.
I know, right?
After
Like,
all
come
they've
on.
been through. Is it the accidentally convenientness of it? Of like, it doesn't feel authentic that she was upset about it?
Yeah, it didn't feel authentic. It felt like it was just, like, we've already built up her character to be this.
Yeah.
But she's also just overgone climbing the mountain range with Cassian and going through all of that trauma dump and healing.
Yeah.
And then being like, now you're mad again.
Yeah.
Nesta.
You would have thought she would have accepted it with more dignity.
Yeah. Just a little bit.
That they had moved past all that insecurity and all that.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
just a shame she couldn't get past those nitties. Those
Dignities. It's so stupid. I can't believe she forgot about it when I like, told her.
I know.
My sister invented that joke.
Anyway,
So funny.
so they're mates. Nesta doesn't take it well.
She runs off to see Emery, and
Gwen joins for a little girls' night and tell her, like, get over it. You guys are cute. Just do it.
Men are dogs.
And they're in the Illyrian war camp.
Yes.
Yes, because that's where Emery lives, is
Yeah.
in, what's
Her
that?
shop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
And they were staying upstairs in the shop. And what happens in their little slumber party?
Mm-hmm. They get their asses snatched.
In the toxic way.
Yeah, in the
super
toxic way, not the way
good
you
toxic,
want. Not the way you want your ass
but
snatched.
the toxic way. And it's not sexy.
And of course, you know, Cassian and Rhysand are the ones to discover this, and they put 2 and 2 together, and it's the blood right. Now, we talked about in the last episode that Gwen, Emery, and Nesta completed the training, or the...
Technically, because they brought Lord Devlon
They were, what's the word I'm looking for? Not applicable, but they passed
the course.
The course, yeah.
Preliminary course.
Mm-hmm. I feel like this was very much a put your money where your mouth is. That's what I thought it was. I thought it was Devlin when I first read it.
Everything.
I thought this was like, you wanna play, bitches? Like,
I thought it was Devlin too.
I thought it was Devlin.
Because that would be such a Devlin thing to do.
Right, well, we don't know him that well, but I
always
know
enough.
Mm-hmm.
We know enough,
and that he hates women.
I almost was like, I didn't think it was. Well, I did think it was him as first, but I'm like, well, he does hate women so much. Would he even touch one? I don't know.
But to be fair, his hatred for women probably doesn't compare to his fear of Rhys.
It's hard for me to think of Rhys as a political figure.
For sure.
But you know what? I think that makes him the most political figure. Because everyone in politics is essentially just like Rhys. Very opinionated,
it's true.
Can't be swayed, extremely biased.
Super immature.
Mm-hmm. And doesn't want to give up power at no matter the cost.
Mm-hmm.
But he does give it up to Feyre.
Yeah.
Does she though?
Actually,
it's like, what are we talking about? We've read the same book.
know, she is in a bubble.
It's like one of those things where stop it, you had to bring it back up.
He did put her in a bubble.
I
She
came down in a bubble, dog. The wicked witch of the night court.
We're not talking about Nesta.
Oh yeah, she is.
Her sister was the cauldron, bud. Like, Jesus.
Her sister was a witch.
Her sister was a witch.
It always comes back
We're so dumb.
to her.
I feel like this series is just that.
Oh
meme.
my gosh.
We'll have to come up with a new meme for season 2 that we're gonna
that
circle
we're just gonna
back
keep
on.
circling back.
Well, wait,
on.
what were you guys saying about the other day where I was saying I love 50 Shades of Grey and you were saying it was a Twilight fanfiction?
Yeah. I'm
And
surprised you
we
know.
find out that ACOTAR is really a fanfiction of that video. I'm gonna stab him.
Yeah.
And now we're moving on to what we're moving on to.
Yeah, so Nesta wakes up and kind of puts 2 and 2 together, and
She's in her little 90.
well, yeah, they just got snatched in the middle of the night. No resources whatsoever. And
Isn't it cold too? It's like wintertime.
yeah, she
Freezing.
even says in the book how she will never ever complain about summer heat ever again because of this fucking thing.
That will be me, my first winter in Chicago.
So one of the big things that Nesta notices, aside from that she needs clothes ASAP, is that there are weapons. She's surrounded by a whole group of Valyrian males who are still passed out because this blood right affects them very differently. And because she is a maid, it doesn't affect her the same way. And she does get attacked, and she does kill the dude, and she gets the knife. And
It's her first kill ever.
yeah.
She does it good.
Is it her first kill
Yeah,
ever?
she didn't really kill anyone in the battle.
No.
No, and she technically did not kill Hybern.
No, she
Which
just
everyone
lifted up
thinks
his
that
head.
she did.
No,
She
Elaine-
didn't. She just lifted up his head,
Elaine
but
did.
took all the credit.
I know. Poor Elaine! Justice for Elaine!
But I will say, in fairness, to give Nesta some credit for that attack, I mean, she did, blast some mad-ass power. I mean,
I think it was a dual effort.
Yeah, she kind of wore him down to the point where Elaine could sneak up and get him
But she
in the
became
back,
the
you know?
poster child for it.
Yeah, I mean,
Or it should have been both of them. Doing
yeah.
the
Yeah,
Charlie's
like
Angels
Charlie's
thing,
Angels.
Like you
For
and Sam in that photo.
100%. She's got the dagger, she's got the head. Be fucking adorable. So yeah, this is her first kill. And then of course the whole weapons thing is there's not supposed to be weapons in the blood, right? You're supposed to make your own out of I guess an arrowhead or a rock or
Sticks.
Or sticks
So-
and
This is actually kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny that Nesta doesn't really react to killing somebody, but has such an issue with the mating bond. Her priorities are so fucked.
I mean,
Anyway.
it tracks, doesn't it?
Go on. She's like, oh yeah, I love decapitated people.
I just
Love
I feel bad for Cassie. What a mess.
So this section kind of jumps between Cassian's POV of realizing what's happening with the girls and then the girls trying to reunite up during the rite.
Right.
So Cassian freaks out, realizes that Nesta and them are gone and that nobody can pull them out without consequences, which is pretty much death. Right. And so Rhysand decides this is a good time for Cassian and Azriel to go on a wild goose chase for Eris.
He's gotta save his ass.
And Rhys is like, well, I can't go. And Feyre's like, I can't either. And that's...
Oh my god, this stupid pact. Go on.
And that is when we find out about their stupid bonded agreement that they're all gonna die.
So,
Feyre and Rhysand.
So if Feyre dies, Rhysand dies too. If Rhysand dies before Feyre, Feyre dies too.
Yeah. Most of the inner circle now finds out about the bargain that Rhys and Feyre made at the end of ACOWAR to die together, which was dumb. And they can't go rescue Eris, so that leaves Azriel and Cassian to do this.
While Cassian's having a meltdown about his meat.
Which is nice because he really can't go get Nesta in these circumstances.
That's fair.
So it kind of curbs that need to save her.
So this is essentially a rescue mission for Eris to be rescued from Briallen.
Which is the last thing that Cassian wants to do.
Right.
No. The both of I don't even think Azriel wants to do it either.
Azriel has opinions?
When it comes to, like, stuff involving more, pretty big ones.
So they do think, though, we do need to make a note that as Cassian and Azriel leave for this mission, that there is a potential that Eris is protected from Briallen and the effects of the crown because he has Nesta's maid dagger on him. So there's possibly a potential level of protection. They are not sure, but they're optimistic about it.
Right.
Oh, I loved the line when we cut back to Nesta's POV after she kills the guy, that she lays her nightgown over his head. Like, it's the most petty and, like, just such a power move on her end after she strips him of his clothing and, like, leaves her nightgown. Like, it's just chef's kiss. I love
It's something
it.
a serial killer would do.
All right, Nesta. Don't out yourself.
She's just mad because we've called her Feyre like 1,000 times.
Okay, hold up. I want to like solve this once and for all.
Clear the air.
Clear the air. So when I think of Sam being Feyre, I don't think of the like Feyre that met Rhysand and gossips and like meddles in other people's business. I think of the Feyre that was the champion of her family and who was this badass warrior, which she still is, but now she's pregnant. But I think of like that Feyre when I think of you. And so when I shit talk Feyre, it's like
Thanks,
Rhys
guys.
I mean, we should talk Elaine and Nesta too.
Stop! Like, no, we don't have to talk about anybody that reminds us of other people or other things. We can just move forward.
So we're back to Nesta.
Yeah.
And as she pieces together, like I think I said earlier, about how there are 3 dropping points for all the Illyrians during the Blood Rite. So Nesta hypothesizes, just like Cassian and his Bat Boys, that the 3 girls were separated.
Yeah.
So she pieces together that their cute little friendship bracelets that they made, accidentally convenient, is a beacon that leads them to each other.
It's not just the blinking, she also feels more emotionally intense in one direction than the other.
That's
she went
called
to therapy.
intuition. Both. Same things.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah, totally.
Intuition and therapy does wonders for a person.
Yeah, now she has emotions.
Is that how it
Hate
works,
like
Hannah?
a bitch. It's terrible.
Enough emotions to know when you get them, you freak out with your mating bond. So she sees that the bracelet is alerting her in one specific direction, which her gut, her intuition, is telling her that that person is in more trouble than the other one. So she follows that direction. And
it's Emery.
Yeah.
It's Emery.
Fucked up.
Yeah.
So Emery, because she's Illyrian, unfortunately woke up at the same time as the rest of the Illyrian warriors. So she follows the blinking light, and Nesta's kind of crouching, hiding. She's overhearing them talking about, oh, that bitch got away, blah, 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 blah. She's probably down at the bottom of the river at this point, or whatever, talking about that she's probably dead. So Nesta starts piecing together where the river is, how she would have floated down, if that's what happened. and finds her stuck along the shore or on a branch near the shore.
Right before the water.
Right before
she's unconscious, too.
Yeah, so she's on the verge of death.
Mm-hmm.
She uses her Illyrian bow and her nightgown, and Emery's nightgown, to strap her to her body, and Nesta pulls her across the river, so she jumps in after her.
Yeah.
And she's not naked anymore because she took the dead person's clothes.
Yes.
What actually, she took off the clothes to get Emery because she didn't want the clothes to get
wet.
soaked.
So luckily, Nesta is able to find a spot with like twigs and needles and other wood that is able to cushion Emery. They're able to huddle under clothing, and she's able to get a fire started. And she realizes that Emery starts to stabilize.
It's also dangerous to have a fire.
Right, but I mean, at that point,
She's
they're about to
desperate
die.
Yeah,
So
it's like one or the other, really. Yeah.
die by fire, die by... I definitely think would prefer fire. Anyway. So then once Emery is stable enough is when she starts looking for a cave, because she knows that... Nesta knows that she and Emery won't be able to climb up a tree to try to hide from all the animals that are prowling. This is when... Sarah, you want to talk about Balthazar?
Yeah! So he's an Illyrian dude.
Who's kind of nice.
Yeah, I mean, he's very practical about the whole thing.
Well, he pretty much is like he's pretty much like, out of respect for Reese and the Night Court, I'm not gonna touch you, your friends.
Mm-hmm. Well, he was like, look, I'm not gonna mess with Feyre Cursebreaker. That's not gonna happen.
He's very much not driven by ego, I think, is it? He's like, I would like to get up to the first rank, because once you get up to the top of the mountain, there's the 3 rankings of Illyrian.
I don't want to hurt you and die after I survive it all because I pissed off the Night Court.
I mean, it's not like the Hunger Games where it has to come down to like one person. Like
Exactly.
we don't have to kill each other.
That's
we could
an interesting point.
We could just all
Work
go
together.
up the hill and not kill each other.
Again, Illyrian egotistical babies.
Like,
That
no,
is
I'm
so
just
funny.
gonna
See,
fit him.
women banded together to get up there.
It's kind of stupid too on like a dumb masculine level because
I mean, it's reality.
they're just thinning out their own people, and it's already hard enough to have babies in this. Like, how fucked up? Like, how fucking dumb is that? Like, I'm gonna.
You know, they're not known for their brains.
No, apparently not.
They're just brute physical destruction.
So then Nesta hesitantly agrees to this, like, immediate alliance to get her and Emery saved and through the night. So
to find Gwen now, too.
Yeah.
Right, but clearly Nesta has been told that Gwen is not in nearly as much danger as Emery was, so they're not super worried about it. They're just trying to get Emery back up to speed.
Mm-hmm.
So then we cut back to Cassian and Azriel, who's been staking out Eris for like 3 or 4 days, and Cassian's literally crawling out of his skin at this point.
I loved Azriel's comment where he's like, dude, people don't do mischief things when it's convenient for you. Don't you remember what it's like to spy?
And Cass like, that's why I don't anymore, Azriel.
More of a like charge in blindly.
That tracks. So they keep stalking, and nothing is happening. So Azriel did question a human that confirmed that Eris was taken to the castle, and that they are planning to transport him soon. That's all they know. So it's a waiting game. But at the end of this section, this POV from Cassian there is a line that he says that a mate, I'm paraphrasing, but a mate would know if their partner is dead even if the bond is rejected, which feels really subtle, but we frequently talk about the possibility of a rejected mating bond. And I think that could be really interesting for when we get into maybe Elaine's POV, if we unpack the theory of Azriel and more. So I think that'll be really funny to see come full circle.
Mm-hmm. The more that I was thinking of all this stuff, the more that I don't know this because the book hasn't been written, so don't come for me, but I foresee Lucien dying. And that Lane finding out through the bond. Because Lucien, like I said from like episode 3 or whatever, he came into the world tragically, and he's gonna leave tragically. He's the token tragic character in this series.
we talked about, and I agree with Sam the more that I read this, is I do think that Asriel and Moore are mates. Like, I think that they are really our first rejected one. We just don't know it.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, that quote is so, I think, significant about, like, coming from Asriel. My other thought...
No, it was Cassian.
Sorry,
it was Cassian's internal monologue worrying about Nesta.
Right. But... I was thinking about the parallels, because I feel like Asriel, and we've talked about this, is he gets either paired off with Elaine or with Gwen predominantly, and I was thinking about the parallels between Gwen and Moore when it comes to how, like, Asriel came across them in these, like, really horrible times, and how they both
when he had to save them.
Well, there's more parallels with the two of them, which is why I kind of am leaning towards that way a little bit more than Elaine and Lucian, as much as I did beforehand.
Elaine and Asriel, you mean?
Elaine and Asriel, thank you, yes. So, I'm actually leaning way more towards Elaine and Lucian, and Asriel and Gwen.
You know what's so funny? I, like, low-key kind of want Elaine to end up with her original betrothed.
You said that in, like, the last couple episodes, and I still disagree with this logic.
So then, the girls are rested enough. Beth Lazar disappears.
Nice segue to get back on track.
Disappears to after they survive the night in the cave, and they are approaching the drop-off point that Gwen was at, and all they see is her nightgown hanging on a tree, so they naturally panic, and then Emery disappears. This is the first time that we run into Emery's, I wrote, shitty-ass cousin, Bellius. And he did it intentionally to lure Emery and Nesta to them to try to attack them, but because they had actually not seen Gwen at all. Mm-hmm. It was a ruse. Clothing. I have it noted here that this is when Nesta notices the glazed look in Bellius's eyes. Mm-hmm. And then that is when Gwen lures one of the cats, one of the creatures in the forest, to attack Bellius's group, and that's how the girls get away.
Aside from noticing glazy eye, Nesta also notices that Bellius says, I don't remember the exact verbiage, but she asks about the weapons being brought into...
Oh yeah, because it's never happened before.
Well, it's not supposed to. It's against the rules, technically. Like, also, like, kidnapping 3 women where it's an all-male competition. So we're just gonna look over those 2 things. But anywho, Baloo.
Real schmooze.
And she asks him if he was the one that brought them in. And he said, yeah, she thought it would be more fun. Something along the lines of, and he said she thought that this would be a better use of our skills or whatever. This would make the competition more interesting. So... it's not confirmed at that moment that it's Brie Allen, but he says she, and
his eyes are glazy.
And his eyes are really glazy. We can pretty much connect the dots.
And all of the stuff is weird.
It's most likely Brie Allen.
As they're, like, reunited, Gwen saves their asses.
Yep.
Everyone's good. Everyone's kind of catching up. Gwen also woke up early because she, too, is not an Illyrian baby. This is when we learn on page 684 of the U.S. paperback is when Emery goes into the details about the rite. So about Enalius and his last stand near the peak where everyone was able to get through the stones.
It's like the 3rd level.
Yeah.
The top tier of the mountain. And because of his standoff against the ancient creatures that were oppressing the Fae, that the rite is held in his honor every year. So the girls actually make really good progress at this point. They're actually, like, plowing through. They are about to hit...
Because they teamed together.
Right. So, as I think Cassian, we've explained in earlier episodes, so as long as you survive the rite, you become an Illyrian warrior. But if you hit the summit and hit one of 3 levels is where you'll be, like, an elevated, like, officer, like, rank, whatever. So they are crossing the bridge into the summit. And they get cornered.
Doesn't the bridge get cut?
Yeah, well...
they have to.
Yeah, they have to. So, Gwen gets shot with an arrow while they're running away from these Fae males that are trying to attack them. Or Illyrian males, thank you. And Emery and Nesta get ahead. They get through the bridge. They do that like cool. No, it's not like grappling hook, but the arrow with the rope off the end.
But
Like
it's like a grappling hook.
It's that scene in Mulan where she goes side for Shang. So they do the arrow rope thing. They send it to Gwen. She grabs on, ties the rope around her, and then they cut the bridge as Gwen is coming. As Gwen is on the bridge, so she's like halfway through the bridge. The rest of the dudes are following her, so they all fall to their death. Gwen hangs on for dear life. Nesta's holding the rope. Emery's holding Nesta and like grabbing onto a tree.
Now they just gotta kind of.
And they just reel her in like a fish, and then and it's there that they come to sort of a crossroads in decision making, which is, do we play it safe? We could just go south and hide until dawn, or do we
badasses?
Take the really horrible, difficult path up to Analius'
up to that section,
that bottleneck where he fought off people, because that is, once you hit that tunnel, it's a straight shot.
Valkyrie.
Yeah, and Gwen, props to Gwen here for this is the first time that she's told the girls exactly like what happened to her. And
they're kind of trauma bonding.
Yeah, and they're trauma bonding, because this was we've talked about this as just a tiny ass recap, which is in Mist and Fury, when they were locating the legs of the cauldron, it was at her temple. One of them was at her temple, and it was stormed by Highburn, and they killed a whole bunch of priestesses. There was also children there. Her sister, she had an identical. I'm assuming identical.
Yeah, twin.
Yeah, she had a twin sister. Katrine? Yeah, Katrine. She was the brave one out of the two of them. She was the ball buster.
They hid the children underground, and as her and her sister finished resetting all the furniture, the attackers came through the door, immediately killed her twin, and then assaulted her in the process.
To get the location of the children. She wouldn't tell them. And then As showed up and saved her. Again, like, this is my parallel between, like, Moore and Gwen, and I think that's very significant. And I also like the idea, because I didn't get to finish this thought earlier, but, like, I kind of like As with a girl that's not... I'm not saying that Elaine isn't a badass. She has her moments. Like, I think
she has her story.
Yeah, like I'm excited to see what happens to Elaine. I think we all are, but I think you said it perfectly in the last episode of ACOWAR, which is, we're not going to be happy about Elaine or Lucian or Asriel, no matter what. It's just
because the fan base got super crazy.
It got so intense. So no one's going to be happy about this, no matter what. However, I like the idea of As with Gwen, because she really picked herself. I mean, like, after that assault happened, she went to the library, didn't talk to anyone for like a month or something like that, and then as she's like slowly sort of getting her footing, Nesta shows up, and she sees that Nesta is like, she knows that Nesta's fighting through her own issues, and she knew that her sister would have signed up for the training. Yes, thank you.
It is cool watching how the different people with the different traumas overcome it.
And we knew some of Emery's stuff. She'd already told us that her father was the one who brutally
clipped her wings.
She didn't have it done the traditional way. Like,
she fought it.
Him.
Yeah. Like, all three of them have that fighter spirit to them, and that's probably what bonds them, regardless of how different their traumas are. And then Nesta finally owns up to, I mean, we can debate this.
Her hoary past.
But, I mean, she sees
no
it
judgment.
But Nesta sees it as that she was ungrateful, and I think there is a little bit of an element to that, but she takes too much responsibility for being ungrateful and not realizing it as the unprocessed trauma of her father's death that it is.
Right.
Because there is an element, but it's not the whole scope of the shit that she was going through.
I'm always curious to know how much she and Elaine actually had a relationship with the father that Feyre didn't know about, and we don't know about it because all of that stuff was seen through Feyre's eyes.
You know, that's interesting.
Because they were alone in the house.
And also,
Feyre was gone for a lot longer, too. I mean,
Tamlin, or whomever Tamlin sent to give her father back his fortune to keep him, like, out and about, we don't know, and I'm assuming not very long, like, once Feyre left for the Sprite Court, they probably weren't together very long as a family in the new home before the father just shipped out, and we just didn't see him again until the end of Akawar, for the most part.
But I'm even curious, like, when Feyre was out hunting and stuff, what their relationship and dynamic was like in the house, because we only saw that point of view from Feyre, who wasn't included in it.
Yeah. I mean, my assumption, which I think we can all see, is that I think Nesta just really did not like him, and Elaine was very much protected by Nesta, and they were in each other's confidants.
Yeah, but you can still, like, hate someone and love them at the same time.
Well, I think that was the complicated nature of their relationship in general. Like, I don't think their father hated his daughters, even though they were really mean to him.
But I'm curious to know, like, what, like, their actual relationship was.
Yeah.
Because we'll never really know.
No. We did get a sense of their mother in this book, but it seems like the father was more of a off to the side.
And around this time is when we cut back to Cassian, and we finally have a little bit of an Eris update. Mm-hmm. We see him leaving the castle and not appearing to be under the influence of the crown and not in a prisoner cart. So immediately...
Shocking.
I know,
He's riding a white horse.
God, I hate Eris so much. So as the girls are going through the Pass of Annalius, this is when Emery notes that no one, male or female, in her family has ever made it past this point. So that's pretty
already
cool for
a win.
her. I know, right? And this is when Nesta's starting to struggle to carry Gwen. Because Gwen is struggling to walk, so she starts carrying her.
Because the arrow.
Yeah, because of the injury, she manages to get by a little bit on her own, but it gets desperate, and Gwen's the one that's like, we're gonna do this, and Nesta's like, I'm carrying your ass, let's go. And she stumbles with her. And also around this time, Emery twists her ankle, like they're all quite literally hobbling along to try to get up the Pass of Annalius.
Nesta's pretty, I don't want to say unscathed, because that's not what it is, but she's got at least ligament-wise, she's the most stable. She's
got two working feet, even carrying Gwen.
Which is the first for Nesta.
I know, right? It's all, the 10,000 stairs paid off for her.
Oh, 100. She even says that, too, when she's, like, carrying Gwen. She's like, she thought that maybe all of the 10,000 steps that she did kind of brought her to this moment, which I really like that she cited that back, you know, when it comes to growth potential. But yes.
What's the phrase? Conveniently...
accidentally convenient. I won't.
Accidentally convenient? Who is she? And this is when they want to take a break, but then they hear...
Bellius.
So Emery is still farther ahead of him, but not the only family member to have made it this far at this point, unfortunately.
Boo. I don't like him. I do not.
So then it comes to a point... Nesta's like, you two can make it up and get through the stones.
I'll hold them off.
Gwen is fighting tooth and nail while literally dying in a heap from her bleeding out from her leg. So Nesta knocks her out with the Spock grip on her shoulder.
With the what?
The
pressure
Spock
point.
Grip? Yeah, the pressure point. Spock does it all the time in Star Trek.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
It's known as, there's probably a better name. I know it as the Spock Grip for whatever reason.
That's cute. Okay.
So Emery is able to continue lugging and now knocked out Gwen up the rest of the way, and Nesta does the cute little line in the sand like Annalius does, and she's ready to show down with the boys.
Bellius How far Nesta has come.
I know, right?
And I mean, she takes them on. Like,
this is the same woman who's like, Feyre, you can go hunt because your hands are already dirty.
You know, that scene earlier when they shot the arrow to get Gwen across the bridge, Emery says we didn't learn archery, and that's when Nesta said, no, my sister taught me. And
I got basics, let's go.
And she did it, because she noted Feyre for showing that, which props to that.
So Bellius, being the little bitch that he is, lets all of his cronies go after Nesta first so that he can have last stab at her to be the strong Illyrian male that he is.
Macho man.
But then, then of course it cuts back to Cassian at the most inconvenient time, right?
Because you notice she's picking up the pace with the cuts.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they get
like
shorter,
the chapters are
shorter.
getting shorter, and it's happening more often. She's trying to. It's almost like watching a movie where it's like da 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 da. I know that doesn't make any sense on a podcast, but go on.
It does to us as we were watching it with your hand taps.
Totally.
They finally approach Eris, who they think is being a traitor right now. Spoiler alert, it is magic.
He's brainwashed.
Well, they brought up the whole Moore thing again.
Yes, and Eris, quote unquote, calls her the Moore again, and Cass is like, "That's not right."
That's not very
someone
Eris.
used you like a puppet, man. Like,
Well, and he's
so,
got the glazy eyes.
yeah, and then they notice the glazy eye, and then, but it's not coming from the crown; it's coming from Kosjay, who is like right over there. And
So it's not even Brialyn that they would have low key expected. This
I mean,
whole
her
time.
old creepy ass was there, but like,
but not yet.
but not yet.
So they're trying to get past Kosjay at this point, which they weren't anticipating. And Az and Cassian divide and conquer at this point. Az is able to winnow Eris out. But before Cass can do anything, Brialyn uses the crown on Cassian and takes control of our baby boy.
How accidentally convenient. I wonder what he's gonna do. I have no idea. Was that sarcastic?
Do you guys think it's interesting that Kosjay would be the villain in this? I guess in this circumstance. I just was thinking, like, both of his siblings supported and helped Feyre's cause.
Yeah.
And this one...
Except for Kosjay.
Except for
Maybe
Kosjay.
Kosjay's a little bitter that his siblings are dead.
I just wonder if his end game is bigger than we think it is.
It has to be.
Like, it has to be.
You know what? The Bone Carver and Briaxis, they wanted...
No, the Weaver. Wait.
Oh, and the Weaver.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted freedom from, like... I don't want to say their prison, or Bone Carver prison or whatever, but, like, freedom from their existence, almost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so... Maybe Kosjay is different in the sense that he's not necessarily probably imprisoned the way that they were.
Well, but isn't
Or maybe he's finding it out.
He is stuck. He's stuck
At the
to a
bog.
lake, right? He's.
And I have my theories on that.
I know.
What if he's not actually stuck and he's just pretending?
No, well, he did say at the end of this itty bitty section that he's waiting for Vasa. So,
Oh, yeah.
because she's still connected to him. Like, there's some deal with them on that. I wonder, because my other thought was maybe he blames Feyre and Rhysand or the Night Court, Inner Circle, whomever, for the death of his brother and sister.
Were they really that close, though?
But I don't think so.
But siblings are allowed to be different.
I guess so. I don't know. I don't know. There's something about Kosjay that I'm very interested in, and I'm very excited to see him because we really don't see him again.
We
after
really don't
this.
know much about him.
Yeah, and we don't see him again after this section, so he does not show up again at the end of this book.
I foresee it's him against Elaine somehow in the next series.
I think
and that's
so
like
too.
the next boss.
Oh, that would be fun.
Well, I feel
The Seer versus
I feel like
Kosjay.
each sister has had their
Pharaoh was
villain.
Hybern.
Well, and
Nesta
Amarantha
was herself.
technically.
I'm just kidding. And then
Brialyn.
Elaine will be romance.
Yeah, like
Kosjay.
Yeah. I just think it's just interesting. I just think Kosjay is a very interesting character. I'm excited to kind of see him play out in the next book. Hopefully, if we see him in there.
So then, of course, it goes back to Nesta, and she has taken down every one of Bellius's cronies except for him.
Go figure.
Like a movie.
And during this time, as she's finishing off the last of them, is when Gwen and Emery successfully go through the stones.
Mm-hmm. Isn't there there's something where she knows it
Yeah, like,
loops?
mm-hmm.
And there's only a handful, and I don't even think it's double digits of the amount of people that have made it
12.
through the stones. Is it 12?
I think they said it was 12.
Well, we know 3 of them. Now we know 5. So then, of course, Bellius is all like, I'm gonna take you down. And of course, she's exhausted, and of course, knocks the sword and knife right out of her hands.
Well, and she knows now that her friends are safe, so she doesn't really care.
Of course, she doesn't. And then as she thinks she's about to literally lose it, it's dawn.
Yeah.
So now the games are technically over. She has technically survived and is an Illyrian at this point, regardless. And guess who comes to the rescue?
Cassian!
But not Cassian! Boo.
Yeah, boo.
You would think that her power, energy, immortality would just boom, health points go up. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
This
'cause
is
her
a
magic
video
comes back.
game.
But it is funny that her magic doesn't come back to her.
Well,
she is part of the
fair.
cauldron and made.
That's
You think
fair.
that the moment that...
I mean, it does because she does attack Brialyn with her power. So it does come back.
Yeah,
but
it's just interesting how it's not like...
Right. It's just this, weird, gradual...
I know that was the perfect description.
Yeah, it's just this weird, gradual well, like, she's not fully, not that she's not fully healed from what's happened to her, but
Yeah,
she
but
also...
in reality, with her magic, like, the wounds that she's sustained would mean nothing, right? Actually, no, because she had magic and still couldn't take on the damn stairs.
No.
Yeah.
So, I also don't understand that.
Accidentally convenient.
For sure. That is definitely the quote of this day.
Like, you could have just...
Oh yeah, that translates.
yeah, you could
Hannah.
just
Whoosh.
I don't know. I was trying to think of the word. Like, you could have just, like, blasted the stairs and made them a slide. And just...
Exactly. Out you go. Bye, bitch.
Yeah.
Like, no. And it did...
Okay, so Nesta might not be the brightest in the bunch.
Or
No.
the rules of this is just weird. Because I'm thinking dawn hits... and, like, portal opens, or, like, light...
Or they disappear back to
and then you're back
the shop.
to the House of Wind, or
shop.
the shop, or
yeah.
whatever. You would think. And
Yeah.
it just doesn't happen in this one little isolated incident. I mean, like, what? The other Illyrians just like, oh, battle's over, I'll just fly away now, because I can, potentially,
yeah,
bye.
right?
Like,
Don't you want to do a head count of who survived outside of the stones?
I mean, they're stupid. Anyway, Cassian shows up.
yeah, Cassian shows up, and you think that he is... I mean, like, you think
He
he's
is.
genuinely there to save her,
But we
but
know
then once
better.
he, like, embraces her, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna kill you.
I'm gonna
And,
snap your neck.
and that's when Nesta is like, oh, this is not exactly Cassian. So
He's really mad about my reaction to the mating
He's the
bond.
whole-
we got a lot to unpack
Yeah.
still.
I thought that was interesting, because in the book, she doesn't do that, and I would have done that if I were her, to be like, oh my god, he's really mad about how I reacted to that
Right.
thing.
Emotional damage.
But she knew pretty instantly that she was like, oh, these are
I bet
not,
well,
this is not Cassian.
because they have the mating bond.
Yeah,
I bet
that's
she
fair.
probably could tell that it
and
wasn't him.
between that and the glazed eyes, I'm
Mhm.
sure it was almost an immediate
I mean, it could
tell.
have just been really drunk.
Mhm. And Brie Allen, she does the monologue of like, yes, it was me. I told Bellius to go get you. Or, well, her original plan was a little bit different, but she's like, I gave Bellius the weapons. I told him to kidnap Emery, but you showed up. So I was like, and the halfling or whatever she calls, it's not very nice, or half-breed, I think is what she calls Gwen. And she's like, but you guys showed up, and I thought, ooh, this would be way more fun to have the three of you in there instead. So I watched all that, because we're connected by, like, the harp and the crown and the shit. So, or the cauldron or whatever. And the shit, you know. And she's like, yeah, it was all me. I'm the evil genius in this situation. And I just, and she's like, well, why now? Why this moment? Blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh, well, I wanted Cassian to kill you, because that's way more cool
It's fun.
than me just killing you, because, yeah. So, you know.
And then Cassian will have to live with it for the rest of his life.
Yeah, and it's awful. It's fun.
Double
It's the horrible.
Double
It's
rainbow.
horrible.
But the most cutesy, accidentally convenient thing of all is Cassian resists because of the mating bond.
Oh
Which
my
this
God.
is so bullshit. This is so bullshit, because
Watch your whore mouth.
They talked about how the crown's influence would make a parent slay their children. You know, like, it would do the most horrible, despicable things you
But
can
she's
think
also
of.
kind of the crown.
I guess that's true, but I don't know. I don't know.
needs Sarah. It's Sarah J. Maas.
So, in the process of Cassian being able to resist the bond, well, thanks to the mating bond between Cassian and Nesta, Cassian was able to resist Brie Allen's crown effect and is able to resist attacking Nesta, and in the process, Nesta unmakes Brie Allen.
Mm-hmm. She throws that power at her, and she starts to get young again, like she was before, and then poof.
It's funny that she could just do that.
I mean, it kind of makes sense seeing that she's the cauldron. Like,
Accidentally
But it's funny 'cause
convenient.
Wouldn't Brie Allen want her alive then?
I don't think she knew that Nesta could do that, though.
I could imagine Coast J keeping that information from Brie Allen.
Yeah.
Using her as a pawn.
Yeah.
100%.
100%. For sure, Z's.
I mean, that's totally Hybern shit there.
Oh,
Yeah.
100%.
So that was great, and I actually made the note. I was like, I love the irony of Brie Allen getting what she wanted, becoming young again to the point of death and
I was
destination.
literally just gonna say, well, she finally got what she wanted.
Exactly. As she deserves. It's quite a bit anticlimactic for her being like that lingering nemesis that this whole, like, from book 3 onwards. It's just like a poof next.
Brielle, poof, dead, gone, whatever, and Cassian's off of the whole crown manipulation, and
Mor and Az come back.
Mor and Az come back. So they're like rejoicing in each other, and then boom, Mor and Az come back, and they tell them that Feyre's
dying.
Is basically dying. Like
she's bleeding out because the baby's tearing her from the inside out.
And the baby's
2
like
months early.
2 months early, yeah. So he's
chaos.
So they get to the river house.
Blood everywhere.
The
healers there can't do anything.
They decide to do an emergency C-section. So
That's not... that C-sections do not exist in Prithian. Excellently convenient.
But it's a C-section, though. I'm not crazy.
Yeah,
right?
they're just gonna cut it out.
Yeah.
But she's gonna die.
She's gonna. I mean, they're both.
But they were like, oh yeah, now we know Reese is also gonna die. But they're like, we could save the baby.
Maybe.
So they cut
Maybe
it out
baby?
for Feyre's request.
Yep.
But the baby comes out silenced.
Yeah, which is not a good sign.
And this is when Feyre also goes silent. And Rhysand begins to scream.
Because he's also gonna die, and he's lost his loved one and his baby.
And his baby. And we didn't talk about this, but this is a good time to bring this up. So Brielle did mention that one of the big reasons why she did this whole shindig thing is because she wanted all of the trove. And one thing that Nesta can do is, because she is part cauldron, she can summon them at any time, no matter what wards it's on, no matter nothing. Like, she could call up on the harp, the mask, and the crown at any point. Boom, they're there. That's it. And that's basically what happens in this, is she is in such an emotional state that she
wants to save her sister.
Yeah, and I think unconsciously she summons the harp. She already had the crown with her because she took it for Brielle, who's Puff spoke, and and that's what she sort of puts 2 and 2 together. That the final string on the harp, which we didn't kind of know what it is, but she's like, oh, it's the one thing that no one else can have control over, which is time. And she plucks that final string, and everything stops. And her sister, Feyre's at like an inch within death. Rhysand is being held back by Cassian.
She essentially like pushes her power into Feyre.
She just makes a bargain with the cauldron, which is, I will give you back the stuff I took, but I want to save Feyre and the baby, and I want you. I need that help. I need your help to do that.
And I also need my uterus fixed.
Yeah, she like snuck that in there.
And for Feyre in the future, this doesn't happen again.
So she fixed Feyre and
How
herself.
accidentally convenient.
Huh. And there is a very sweet moment where she acknowledges how much Feyre has done for her, and she says that she loves Feyre. Feyre, like, time starts over again, and Feyre's like, I love you too. And Rhysand
gets on his knees.
Gets on his motherfucking knees.
As he should. And
he kisses Nesta's hand.
Sure.
And she gets on her knees and she hugs him too, because he's her brother-in-law and whatnot. And yeah, so and then you hear Nyx, and he's crying.
He's alive.
He survives.
So it's alive.
So he survives. Feyre survives, and then the last couple things they talk about is
Feyre gives her a painting.
And then they go
visit.
She tells Cassian that she wants a big ass ceremony, and she gives him like a biscuit as the food offering, which
she accepts the mating
bond. So that's all good and dandy. And she also says that she changed, which we talked about. She changed her and Feyre's anatomy
so that they can have winged babies.
So that's good to go.
And after all that happens, Mor is the one in charge of hiding all the trove items.
Right.
With Helion.
But
what a weird combo.
Nesta can still summon them, but she still has like the teeniest
her
bit of power
much
back.
gone.
Yeah. They assume that it was the mother, or like that goddess that's kind of part of all of this cauldron creation, the mother, that sort of stepped in or intervened between the cauldron, taking all of that power, which is very interesting. So yeah, so that's and then the last two things that happen is Cassian confronts Eris. He's like, "Did you tell him anything?" And he's like, "Not really. I didn't have anything on me." And Cassian
comes back and says, "Eris is okay."
Yeah, he's like, "I think you're a good guy, so I don't get this whole thing that happened with you and more. And Eris is like, I don't want to talk to you about it. I don't owe you shit. I'll talk to, there's only one person I want to talk to about this, which is more. And we leave it at that. So I guess this is just something we'll have to revisit in future books. I hope we revisit in the first book, because I feel this is being drawn out a little too long, but whatever. And then the last thing that happens is Feyre, Elaine, Nyx, and Nesta. They go to see Daddy Archeron, pay their respects. And,
so sad.
And that's that.
Can I tell you what I think should have happened?
All right.
Oh my god. Okay. So, one, I don't think the whole shit with Feyre and the baby should have happened. I think she should have been pregnant or whatever. But with Nesta's power to be able to raise the dead and how much she and Rhysand hated each other, there should have been where Nesta would have been like the new Hybern, like the new villain. And so Rhysand and Nesta and Feyre had to like choose between the two, sister or husband. And then at the end of the day, somehow Elaine being the seer was going to be the deciding factor. And I think Nesta should have like always been the villain and never actually had a redemption story. I think she should have like overcome some stuff, but maybe not healed as much as she should have. And the tension should have built up. And so it would have been her raising the dead, because she could have raised Hybern
totally.
Against Rhysand and all of the Fey world.
And put Cassian in between it. So
yeah,
Cassian
because
and
he has to
Feyre
choose between Rhys and Nesta, his mate. I think that like that would have been so freaking epic.
Oh, I love
and then
that.
the next story could have been like, so they going to head to head, and then it transferring back to like the Feyre, Elaine inner circle point of view, and Elaine gets more of a say in stuff and trying to decide and like learning her backstory and how close she actually is with Nesta versus Feyre, and like being the seer, what she sees on Nesta's side, and like whether or not she's willing to sacrifice one sister for the other. It just would have been so epic.
I also, like, if I was I love that idea. And
Because she had the most epic power.
Yeah, I agree.
And she
really like that idea.
loses it. Surprise, surprise.
To help her.
She has a little bit, but yeah.
Whatever.
You know, if I was a cinematographer and I was doing that final scene with Feyre and stuff, and because I thought, like, how interesting is it that, you know, Ness is wearing a mask and Feyre came into this whole world, and Tamlin was wearing a mask.
Yeah.
Like, I would have totally paralleled
Yeah,
the two.
like it would have been so cool to see like a divide.
Yeah.
You know, like I know Sarah J. Maas loves wrapping her stuff up in the Pretty Little Bow and stuff, but like as far as it being an interesting story, having an actual like true villain against Rhys and Feyre that would split the world in two. That's not just like Hybern, like you said, like very anticlimactic or whatever. Like that would have meant something to the readers.
And Nesta really has a lot of a lot of reasons to be a villain. Like,
exactly.
She's got enough
but also,
of a backstory.
After this book, you kind of see from Nesta's point of view, and so it almost like splits the fan base.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that would have been like, it would have been like Game of Thrones epic.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree. And I think she's really the only one that could have done that.
Yeah.
Well,
and that's why I'm like, so that scene when she gives her power to Feyre, I was so disappointed. And not in the sense that like she came around and is cute or whatever, but I was like, in this moment, the potential for this character to like really create a whole storyline that like takes this books later.
there are parallels to her writing.
Yeah.
There's
like the parallels are she's like prepping for something. She's always preparing for something. Even in Throne of Glass, Crescent City. Like, if you read any of her work, it's the same story. But it would have been like, if it were a solo series, it would have been epic.
Right.
And like I know that what she's doing is gonna be epic, but it was very much one of those like, okay, I finished this like question, and now I'm moving on.
That whole thing, and because this was really the only way that we could keep Feyre and Rhysand and Nyx for future stories to come ahead, was to not go your way, which I think your way makes a lot of sense. Even if we keep the blood right too, because
well, even if they kept the bargain, I think they still would have been able to do battling against each other. Because God forbid, like one of them fall hands to Nessa, and she's like the arch enemy.
Right. And if she's the Cauldron and she had won the blood right, and like you know what I mean?
Versus
she
like
could
the
easily
High
get
Lord.
like followers, no problem.
Or she just make them from the dead people.
Right. I'm just
Or you know what I think they're fixing to do with Cassian and Nesta is Cassian has been trying so hard to get a female league of Illyrian warriors, and I wonder if it's going to be Nesta that's going to lead that. It's going to be the two of them together leading the Illyrian armies.
Creating another, like, pawn for Rhys and Feyre to, like, go again.
Do you think that Emery might be able to fill that moving forward?
So they have alluded to the fact that that reconstruction for Emery's wings is possible, but very expensive and very hard to do.
Well, if anyone has money, it's Rhys.
I know, right? Maybe, Nesta can pull a couple strings there, hopefully.
Yeah,
that newfound relationship between them.
That would be is that a Thesan thing, or would that be a Helian thing?
Both? I mean, they kind of utilize both of them for that, right?
You're not letting that go.
So, no, I don't remember where that was alluded to, but I think it was in one of the books where they had made that comment that it is possible, it's just really, really difficult.
It's pretty intricate how, like, the wings are, like, and the muscles with the...
Right. And especially because she is so brutally severed, too, that there's going to be that extra layer of delicacy that needs to happen.
What if she has mechanical wings? I mean, if Amryn can die and somehow come back to life after exploding in the air, they can fix her damn wings.
I think it's...
If anything, Nesta could have resurrected her dead wings because she was so good at raising the dead.
Or, I don't know,
Are they living, though? Debatable.
I don't know. She killed the nerves. She could bring them back to life.
Yeah.
Now she can't because she gave up all her fucking power.
I think it's very likely that Emery will get her wings back.
Oh, like a Christmas Story. She'll get her wings.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, anyway, I was like, oh man, that was such a missed opportunity.
Mm-hmm. No,
Maybe I'll write my fan fiction of ACOTAR and
there you
something
go.
else.
Mm-hmm. There was a lot of things that I don't know, like this whole last couple chapters really lackluster for me, I guess.
Because it was so like, da-da-da-da, building, epic, and then it was just like, boom, done, story's over.
Yeah.
Just like this podcast episode.
Yeah, these two have to go see Taylor Swift, so we're going to have to wrap it up.
Priorities.
AKA
the Swiftie in the house.
Alright, final thoughts.
It was a good book. It made me cry.
Well,
yeah.
I'm excited for the rest of the series.
Oh, totally.
Is there a release date for that, or is it just in the
She's
works?
writing it.
Yeah, she's currently writing
Well,
it.
Sarah J. Maas, if you need some help writing stuff, I have great ideas.
Yes, you do. There was a lot of this book that I definitely related to, more so than the four before.
The self-loathing really got me.
No.
Yeah.
You know what, Sam? You're being a Samarantha right now. And
Not a Feyre?
You're being a married Feyre right now.
A pregnant Feyre? You got something against pregnant women?
God, do you need someone to come in and save the fucking day?
Oh my lord.
Wow, no, because I'm Feyre fucking Archeron, that's who.
Yeah, the first one.
I still stand by that Sarah J. Maas has a really wonderful talent about writing trauma.
Yeah.
More so than any other author I have read of this. Well, just that I have read, I'm not saying that there aren't other authors that can depict trauma better than her. I'm just saying from this genre, she is so far the best. Stop it. So she is so far the best that I have seen. I am always open to reading other people. But, like, there is just something about how she has, especially the beginning of this book, was flawless. I really, really, really enjoyed this. And I feel in many ways that Silver Flames very much parallels or is a foil to Mist and Fury.
I was going to say, because that's also Mist and Fury, and that's, I think, why it resonates with people so much, is Feyre's trauma and everything she works through.
Yeah.
People just don't want to
and it's the same thing with Nesta. Yeah, it's the same.
Wait, why don't people want to admit it?
Because it's Nesta. They don't want to see the parallels of Feyre and Nesta because
they're
everyone
sisters. Of course,
but
there are parallels.
But everyone idolizes Feyre, and no one is willing to give Nesta the time of day.
No, and it totally is. They're totally foils of each other when you think about Mist and Fury and Silver
so I'm excited
Flames.
to see how Elaine's a foil of them.
Come on, Elaine, tell us.
I feel like Elaine's story is going to be such a pivot. I really, really do.
I'm
think
looking
it
forward
should
to it.
be.
Though.
Yeah, I
she's
think
been
it's
boring
I think
as
it's
fuck.
totally gonna.
She has one of the coolest powers right now of
She
this
does.
year.
She does a really dope power.
Now she's the only one who has real powers.
I mean,
Right.
and it is. It's a good opportunity for Sarah J. Maas to really go in a direction that we're not expecting, and I think that's definitely going to be Elaine.
Redemption for Elaine.
Yeah.
Redemption. Hashtag redemption.
But like I
for
said, I
Elaine.
don't think anyone is going to be happy about it. I think everyone's just
Like
like
they were with Nesta, and they
You
got
know
over it, and
what?
it's
You
fine.
win some, you lose some. You
Yeah.
can't please everybody. And that's the
No.
end of the episode. We love to see you. You might see another episode for the finale of season 1. Thank you so much for listening this season. We love you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.